Good evening. That's the gavel. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting at Town Hall, Plymouth, Massachusetts, on the 22nd of January, 24. We have a couple of cases and some bookkeeping stuff to take care of this evening. The first case is case number 4116 for Citizens Federal Credit Union. I will ask the clerk to read the ad into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Case number 4116, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass, on Monday, January 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. to hear the petition of First Citizens Federal Credit Union requesting a special permit required per Section 203.7.2, Section 203.7.d, and 203.7.g.1 to modify visual relief for parking areas per Section 206.1, Aquifer Use Table Number 15, to allow less than 15% or more than 2,500 square feet of impervious surfaces, and per 205.16, dimensional table to waive side setback requirements on the property of 1 Resnick Road, shown as Lot 14K-178 on Plat 103 of the Assessor's Map, dated January 1st, 2023, in an MC zone. The petitioner or his or her representative and any other person desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Connor, and myself. Who will be presenting? Good evening, Mr. Shaw.
There it is.
There you go.
Right. This particular piece of property has been before this board 3 times that I'm aware of. There was a bank approved here in 2020. There was a school that was on this site back, probably 10 years before that. And now the permit lapsed from the 2020. They didn't go forward during the pandemic, and now that they're ready to start again, they have a different bylaw to deal with, one of which says that we don't need a special permit for just a freestanding bank, which we needed in 2020. Now we need 3 special permits for the following reasons. And I'll just, for those people who aren't familiar with the site, Commerce Way is on this side. Industrial Park Road is over here. Resnick Road is in here, and this goes into the eye doctor's buildings up and back. And the storage facility, the new one, is located right here. That's the big orange stripe that's out there. So the 3 special permits that we're asking for, one, the visual relief. Essentially, it's kind of a detail in as much as we don't have any parking spaces within 20 feet of the roadways, but we do have driving lanes. So the driving lane that goes around in this location comes within 20 feet of the street line, and what we've tried to do is bolster the vegetation through that area with street trees, so the same type of visual relief that would be expected from a 20-foot buffer could be realized. The second special permit has to do with the aquifer protection impervious surface requirement of 15% or 2,500 square feet. Essentially what we've done is we've leached the entire roof onto the site, and we've also run 1 inch of water through the MS4 leaching system here. We have a bypass manhole on this location, and then we go into a shutdown manhole over here before we eventually go into the town drainage system, which, by the way, also infiltrates within the zone. As many of you may know, it goes down the hill into a series of infiltration basins and line basins, and eventually ends up in the frog pond over on the far end of the low point on Resnick Road, which is over here, about in this location. The last request was for a special permit to go from 40 feet in this location to 36.5 feet for that drive-through canopy that's there. And essentially that allows us not to squeeze the building to the front, and it allows us to have the width of driving lanes that they feel is appropriate for this particular site. John Henson is with me this evening, and if there's any questions concerning the landscaping, there is an effort here to put more landscaping in than is usually required. And essentially, the other thing that goes on is that Resnick Road has got this big wide layout that wraps around a lot of the green space over in this location, because it was taken in order to try to put the road through many, many years ago. I'm saying almost 2 decades ago, the road used to go through like this. So when they made the taking or abandonment, they have a layout that is rather large and a big green space that makes the front of the lot on Resnick Road. Essentially, if you notice in some of the DPW comments, one of them is that you need permission from the town to plant in these locations. We'll be glad to get it, and I think the reason they want permission is because we're going to maintain it. That's fine. That's exactly the intent in this particular case. And essentially, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And if you need anything from John, he'd be glad to also give you a presentation or answer questions.
Bill, that's a drive-through?
Yes, right here.
And so, is that a drive-through just
Yeah,
under that canopy, or to the right of it, down below it as well?
That's a bypass lane. In other
Yeah,
words,
okay,
the
so it
convention
does-
here is to come in, you're able to go 2 ways here, but you're going to go around here 1 way and out.
Okay. And this is, I guess it doesn't matter, but the primary frontage is on this street.
Yeah,
But the
so,
entrance is on the other street. Can you get it? You can do that?
yeah, so actually, this is considered a corner lot. We have frontage on 3 roads.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, and we're saying our primary frontage is Industrial Park Road, that the rear yard is the one we're asking for relief from, and that the secondary frontage is either Commerce Way or Resnick Road.
Okay. So to the building commissioner, there's no, they can do that even though you don't go in that way? You can enter the side of the building?
Yeah, I'm under the impression that our bylaw will allow you to access your property off of any of your legal frontage.
Okay.
As long as your lot has frontage on a way that meets the requirement.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Well, I have a couple comments, Bill, as usual. So anyways, I realized, one, it seems like the plans I got anyways were more geared towards aquifer, showing the relief from that. But the other relief you needed was for the parking. Well, not the parking, but the visual relief, But I never, in plans anyways, unless somebody else got something different, I don't have any plan that shows the parking spaces themselves and a physical lot.
Oh, well, yeah, so there's 2 spaces here. There's a couple of spaces here, a couple there, actually 8 on this side of the building, 2 more over here. And then there is 4 spaces here, and I believe 5 here, and then 3 on this side. So they're spread out from front to back, and of course, if you read what the planning board wrote, they said all of the parking spaces conform. They're not within
Right.
20 feet of the roadway. The reason for the request is that there's been some discussion recently concerning the driveways. In other words, do you
Right.
have to do something with the driveways? And what we're asking you is, in this particular case, because we're able to make the parking conform, that we should be able to get a special permit to allow these driveways to go around like this.
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have got one with the parking spaces actually physically on it, because I only get a glimpse of it in the fire truck turnaround, that particular plan, and one of the other ones. Otherwise, it wasn't one complete, it had the
So
parking spaces.
sheet 4 of 6, I think, should be the one that shows them.
Yeah, I'll have to look to see, because I didn't have it. Then the drains on the place, the roof drains, what are they going into the
Yeah, they go,
system?
there's an infiltration basin right here, made up of 20 galleys, and there's a roof drain that runs all the way around it and goes into that, and that takes all of it.
Okay. Because I'm fine with the visual relief, I'm fine. The aquifer, I can understand that, that's not an issue. Oh, I don't have that one, though. For some reason, that one's
Sheet
not in
6.
there.
4 of 6.
Sheet 4 of 6, you can see.
All right. Yeah, I don't have that one. Anyway, okay, I guess for right now, that's it for me. I've got some comments to make on the condition list, but we'll wait till we get there.
Peter?
Yes, since you mentioned plans, I noticed a lot of comments from DPW and a lot of comments, and I started checking some of those out. I'm not a plot plan guy, but I started checking some of those out, and it would say, see the notation on page 6 or something. But I don't see any of those notations.
Wow.
So what I see is a set of plans dated sometime back in November, I think, with all kinds of recommendations for revisions, but we don't see the revisions, and that is troubling to me.
All right, so I had submitted a set of the revised plans, one set, and one set to the engineering department with the answers. Of course, their responses didn't come till the 26th of December. So we had to also make the changes that they were looking for, and then go ahead and submit it to Bossy at the engineering department to get his responses. I should add that a good portion of them were understood. They're boilerplate. They're what they want to see about as-built, what they want to see from the sewer department, the water department, and the rest. The only two substantive changes, if you want to call them substantive, are as follows. There was a crosswalk that I had right here, going from the front of the building across the catch basin and out onto the street. We moved that crosswalk over to the side and made the entrance on this location, and that took care of that. And then there was a comment concerning structural design of the retaining wall. So there's a retaining wall located here. Its maximum height is 7 feet right there. From there, it goes down to 0 and 0 on the other side. So it averages about 3.5 feet. We were able to move that line around and still get our fire trucks through the 60-foot radius and the 40-foot inside and move it 5 feet off of the lot line. When I did that, then we decided that we would go to a gravity wall, which is only 3.5 feet deep and doesn't have any of the fabric that runs back into what might have been the street layout at that time. So those are the two substantive changes. The rest are notes. I added 5 feet to the cover of the water, although, it was just, they wanted to hear it, so we put it on there. And a few other things.
So I'm not here to argue with you,
No.
but
I am.
they sent these out on December 20th, or they reviewed?
26th. I got them.
Oh, it says the 20th, okay. You didn't get them till the 26th?
Right.
What do they do? Just sit in town hall? You don't get a copy right away?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't get copied. If you notice on the bottom there, they don't have, at least me, there's no engineer that gets copied on it. They go down to, I think, to the building department. The building department then distributes it to the ZBA, and then the ZBA distributes to us.
Well, I don't know. There's just a lot of things on there that have me confused, because I like to see them on the plan. You know, go ahead, Michael.
Okay. Yes. Ed?
So can you show me on, up there where this right-of-way is?
Oh, sure. So,
Is there, not on your, do you have these plans that I could see on that area?
well, I don't know, is the thumb drive that has all of them available?
And these are the ones we got in the email.
On, that we can't read? Why don't we all have a copy of this plan, Bill?
Well,
I'm pretty
because-
sure that it's
Well,
pretty specific.
yeah, my problem is that I was asked by the planning board, do you want to see the DPW stuff as conditions? And I said, yes, because my recollection is that I can't revise the plan until you guys have had a public hearing. And once you've had the public hearing and it decided what happens, then I can go ahead and revise it. Although, there was a press. I had already gone through them. I knew what I needed, and I had the plan, but that was on Thursday, or the Wednesday, the day you pick up your materials. So I was done at that point, and I submitted it to Bossy, and what I would like is, for him to respond back. I suspect 90% of it should be okay. Sometimes he wants to see something else, and that's okay also, and make these things a condition of approval.
So, Michael, can I ask that question?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out this right-of-way.
Okay.
Where is it?
So Resnick Road goes from here, around this radius, down that line, and around the radius back here, and then across here, and then down into Resnick Road. Resnick Road again is here. And then, of course, this is the sideline of Industrial Park Road, and this is the sideline of Commerce Way. So there's this huge right-of-way that's right in front of the building, and it's not used for anything. I mean, this is the end of the line, by the way. We haven't got anything else to develop up in here.
So, Nick, my understanding is you never can build on a right-of-way.
Yeah, we're not.
You can't even put up plants, you can't do anything.
Oh, well, street trees are
So-
always, I mean, we do them all,
So
we get them all
so
the
what
way
I'm
around
saying
here.
is that, what do you say, Nick?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that. I'm with you 100% on the structure, but as far as landscaping and curbing, those types of things, I don't have that answer. What I can tell you is if there's no immediate attention that the engineering department, someone like Rick Bossy wants to bring to this, of there being an issue with this right away, he's probably familiar with it and they're good with what's proposed.
Because I'm looking at it, because from my perspective, you're never supposed to build on a right-of-way. You're not supposed to put any trees on it. The town, I've dealt with the town on
Yeah.
other right-of-ways. They don't allow anything. Now we have this huge right-of-way going on. It's mentioned in number 4 on the memo dated
The 20th?
December 20th, and then I don't see this right-of-way issued, addressed in the planning board. I mean, a general rule of law is that you never build on a right-of-way.
Well, if it pleases the board, I'm happy to reach out, get an opinion from KP on this specific issue. If it would make the board feel more comfortable, I'm happy to do that.
So I think that I cannot, without my experience, is you never, ever build on a right-of-way, and it's usually, you have to read the right-of-way. Usually the town has some vested interest on, such as a fire route or something like that. I looked, and the response is on page 3 of 6 of the plans. I looked on 3 of 6 of the plans, and I can't see anything that says right-of-way. So I'm not very comfortable with that issue. And then the planning board didn't even address it, which I don't understand why that wouldn't be addressed, especially there's that one attorney on the board. Can't remember, it starts with a B. Get the gentleman's name. Yes. And so, just so the board knows where I stand on that issue.
Through the chair, if I might.
Yes.
We just finished building, I don't know, 150 feet of sidewalk, plus handicap ramps, plus crosswalks, all within that right-of-way. All approved by the DPW and actually requested. They talk about, connectivity and plantings. They're just asking that you get permission and that somebody maintain them.
The only issue I see, Bill, is that Mr. Conroy brings up a very, very good point. And it's not that this particular project at this particular time is impeding, so to speak, but we don't know what's going to happen 25 years from now, 30, 50, whatever. And then things can get a little iffy. And if this isn't addressed and put to bed, all we need is some documentation saying that it's either yes, you can, or you can't. Once that's put to bed, then everybody's happy.
Fine.
I'm not happy with letting it go without some kind of, because then that puts this board on the hook. And this board then eats any legal ramifications. We're not going to do that.
So I would like KP Law, or whoever from the town perspective, to weigh in on this. And then our decision, if we approve this, needs to reference this encroachment on towns right of way. Whether it's allowed, because the reality is if I was representing the buyer and you didn't deal with this right of way, and that's malpractice. You never build on a right of way.
Michael?
And with,
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
and say with one building in town in particular, the DPW came out and said we couldn't pave that area on that right of way.
I just wanted to comment, one thing Bill said. I think if I heard you right, you felt that we couldn't get revised plans until after the hearing.
Right.
Uh,
I didn't think the
That-
plans could
Yeah,
change.
that's not correct,
Good.
At all.
Okay.
at all. I
That
mean,
helps me.
We have to have them a week or two ahead of time, that's for sure.
Well,
But we, speaking for myself, get more annoyed when we don't have the current plans, and that seems to be happening more and more these days, so that's a problem. But yeah, we, and Denise knows that as long as she gets them in enough notice, that she'll, get them to us.
So our problem essentially is that easily, if we submit 2 weeks before that we don't expect engineering to be finished for 4 weeks, easily. They
No,
won't.
but engineering's done. You've done everything they've asked. You haven't put it in print for us,
Okay.
and that was a month or so ago,
Yeah,
right?
but I don't know if they're okay with all of that. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not.
Then there we
Oh, then
go.
we have
That's
more
not our
problem.
problem. That's your problem
Oh,
to
and
get
I
it all
have-
dealt with,
I
Bill.
have no,
Come on.
I'd as soon leave it to them, no question. So should I ask for a continuance?
I think you probably ought to.
Okay.
You should ask John Jensen to tell us about the trees. He drove all this way.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you-
Before you bring John up, condition 3 from the planning board is regarding the water moratorium.
All right.
Is that the intention to put a well in?
Well, we will. We're only going to use 250 gallons per day. It would seem the magnitude of the problem and what's being proposed that's causing the problem is thousands of gallons. So we'll ask the water department. And again, they may have a problem just because of policy. They may say, look, we're not letting anybody go in. And if so, we can put in a well because 250, it's a house.
Because when we got to the condition list, I was going to strengthen that clause. I mean, not because of you guys or anything else, and I realize the bank uses very little water. Problem is, there's a lot of property down, still on that line by Market Basket, which is as of right, and so, they wouldn't be before us or anybody else, and if you add one, because, they don't,
Oh, yeah.
and all of a sudden, we're back to the place that, because we requested that peer review because we had heard about this situation, and it's pretty dire.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, but I still, like, I'd say, you know, I'll leave it up to them, but I just wanted to strengthen that towards the well myself.
Fine, I'll defer to John, and,
Yeah.
and then if you can continue to some date that it's available, I'd say, I don't think I'm going to get anything from engineering for another 3 weeks, so at least beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the rest of the conditions.
No, but we will be then, though, in favor.
I've got some, yeah, okay, I've got some notes here.
Excuse me?
No, I'm okay, I just said, I've got some notes on conditions too. but-
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, well, I await the board's pleasure.
We gotta find a date first.
I'm actually half serious. Does John want to say something about the landscaping? You're still driving quite a ways, aren't you? You still drive quite a ways to get here, don't you? Yeah.
It's billable hours.
I mean, you haven't told us in a long while about these beautiful shaded trees you put in and everything.
If you really want to hear it.
Yeah, well, I'd say, yeah. Give him a couple of minutes to talk about it. I'm fine with that.
You
Go
like to
ahead.
hear your voice.
You know I'm going to make you do it all over again.
So that's all right away out there.
Yeah, but it's
I-
actually, it's not the town, it's the electric companies.
Fellas, I think this is a waste of time because he's talking about the right-of-way and everything, and we don't know what's going to happen with that yet. So why are you making him do this?
Oh, I just thought he'd tell us what he's got for trees around the side there and everything, that's all.
Thank you, sir. For the record, I'm John Henson, landscape architect in the project, and I'll start along Commerce Way. We're continuing what is an existing street tree planting that runs up beyond the storage facility and up towards the medical building. So this is simply a pattern that is carried through and around along Industrial Park Road. Most of those plantings are a combination of honey and locust and maple for winter interest, fall interest. And the dark line right here is a evergreen planting at the top of the wall that Bill mentioned. It's just kind of a nice low evergreen necklace, if you will, that helps to draw the eye in a bit towards the bank. Signifies something visually a little different that's happening along Commerce Way. There are indigenous grass plantings in here to help buffer the lower portions of activity, vehicular activity, along that portion of the access drives. As we round the corner here along Resnick Road, there's some pines in here to visually buffer this parking space so that we don't get headlight play headed out towards Resnick Road and down Industrial Park Road. These trees here are existing. They're already in there, not a part of the proposed portion of this plan. We've got some linden trees flanking the entry. The lower treatment in these two areas is a wildflower meadow with indigenous plantings. All the islands are planted in here as is required, at least in part, by zoning. Those are deciduous trees. There are some low plantings, hosta plantings in the beds around the bank to provide some visual interest. And this material along here that is outlined is a part of the massive planting for the storage facility.
Just
Yes, sir.
moving that pointer slowly, you guys get us so dizzy.
You're asking an old guy to move
Just
it.
start at the top, will you? Just come right down where that right-of-way line is for me.
You head through here?
So the whole thing.
Right through the whole
Wherever the
project.
right-of-way is, because on the plans, it doesn't say where the right-of-way
I'm going to ask the right-of-way expert to,
Okay, but move it slow.
slow.
Thank
So the
you, John.
right-of-way is shown on sheets 1 through 5. Every single one of them. Yeah.
Let's get some new plans and stop this. Bill, we got to move on. These are insufficient. Okay, so now, Mr. Shaw, you're going to ask for a continuance. Yes. And when
In
you
addition
come
to
back,
that, could I get some clarity on what sort of answer and from who you would like this,
we were just
this
gonna-
right-of-way issue?
We were just going to do that.
Okay.
So, Mr. Conroy, questions first, we want a good definition on the blueprint of where that right-of-way is.
Okay?
Okay. Secondly, show us that whole right-of-way and depending on what Mr. Mayo comes back to you with as to whether you can even plant there or not. Okay? And that will be done through what, town council?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll make sure that KP Law takes a look at that, so at least we have our own opinion instead
Okay.
of an outside third party.
So then you and Mr. Mayos can get together and you can give us a blueprint according to the information you get. And
Okay.
it'll determine where the crosswalks are that were a question in the beginning. We will see all the parking places on one of them. We will see a definite definition of where that easement is.
Right. And I would assume that you'll want me to label each line, because I think you'll find on sheet 1 that it says right-of-way in a solid blue line, and it's up there in the legend. But that's okay. I'll be glad to label each one of the lines.
We're old, Bill.
No, that's me
No,
too.
I looked at the plan, I didn't see right-of-way anywhere.
Yeah,
I looked
I
at
know.
every single page.
We're not going to get
Yeah,
mad at each
right.
other either. And then we'll want some kind of documentation from town council.
Okay,
on-
so we should actually wait for town council to respond to this.
That will be up to however Mr. Mayo wants to handle that.
Okay. So, yeah, whatever date you'd like to extend to, and,
Okay?
And the responses from engineering.
Yes, and then,
Oh, yeah.
and I saw them, and I saw a lot of them said, understood.
if you read what it said, it's boilerplate. What they're asking is, by the way, what they're asking is make sure that the contractors find out what they're supposed to do here. And they repeat it several times because it's an issue.
I was okay with it, but
Okay.
we're going to do this all right by the book. All right, so you're coming back with plans, you're coming back with some kind of documentation or something from the building department that says that, yes, you can do that, that you can plant and landscape and so on and so forth. And I think you got a good project then.
Fine. What's a good date?
Okay, how long do you think it's going to take you to get this information, Bill?
See, I don't know about town council, but my guess is that if I can get engineering in 3 weeks, that I would suspect town council would be longer than that.
I don't think
No?
so.
Okay, so, let's say a month out.
Okay, now, does that conflict with anybody's schedule? A month out, what it
It
would
would
be?
be February 26th. You're here, The two March meetings, I don't think you are. March 18th? No. Didn't you say you were going on vacation?
March 18th? No, we don't leave till the 23rd,
Okay.
but I have to go back to Canada that week. It might have to be the 18th. I think but if not,
Yeah, if not.
If not, you're okay with the alternate replacing them?
Well, yeah, and in March is not a problem either. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're better off having all of the answers rather than me coming back with some of them.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to put it out to March?
Sure.
I'm not here March 4th.
Bill, would you be fine with the alternate replacing one or the other?
Well, I have no problem with that. No,
You gonna be here?
March, how many March?
Peter is not here March 4th.
I'm not?
No.
I'm still trying to find
You better be here.
No.
She's got the schedule. I'm not here.
Well, maybe we better
Maybe
cancel
we
that.
better not pick that day.
Yeah, I think March 4th is probably out. You
So
want to go further out?
Further out, yeah.
What's the next,
March 18th.
are you here?
Yeah.
Are you here? Are you here?
Of course I'm on.
Are you here? 18th?
I'm not sure. I think so.
But he's here.
But Phil's here. Okay, so tentatively, actually, we're going to move this to the 18th, you said?
Yes.
Okay. I await a motion.
Let's see. I motion that we continue case number 4116 until March 18th.
Second.
Yes. Just give me a minute, I want to make a couple of notes.
So Nick, you'll be asking town council. Should I write a letter saying that's what I'm looking for?
So we know what to do is, if you can send me just
Good. Thanks.
All right, I have a motion by, did you make the motion, Michael? I have a motion by Mr. Leary and a second by Mr. O'Reilly to move case 4116 to March 18th at 7 p.m. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Our next case is case number 4112, Sheridan Home Builders Incorporated, 393 Court Street. And did you read into the record? Yes.
Want me to read it back in?
Yes, please. I'm good. Denise? I'm going to have him read the ad again. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Case number 4112, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, December 18th, 2023, at 7 p.m. to hear the petition of Sheridan Home Builders, Inc., requesting a special permit required per section 205-9 TC and use table to allow a multifamily dwelling per section 207-7.c.1.a for inclusionary housing per section 203-7.c.2 for a driveway within 50 feet of an abutter's driveway per section 202-6A.a to waive or modify dimensions and similar requirements if required, and per section 205-9 TC and dimensional table to waive rear setback requirements for a structure on the property of 393 Court Street, shown as Lot 17A on Plat 1 of the Assessor's Map dated January 1, 2023 in a TC zone. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Connor, and Mr. Conroy, and myself. And I assume Mr. Flaherty will be presenting.
Good evening. Kevin Flaherty from Flaherty and Stefani. I'm here with Matt Sheridan from Sheridan Home Builders. So to get started, we've looked at this property for numbers of years. I think the board has seen it through the last 20 years. But to get started, we had, let's see if I can make this work. So again, the team that we had working on it was, again, Flaherty and Stefani. We had Jeffrey Dirk from Vanass and Associates, was kind of the first step in our process on this. To give you a quick kind of idea of where the property sits, let's see if I can make this laser work. So we're in here. Cottage Park Development, Harbor Walk is in this area right here. Right directly, pretty much across the street is Forest Ave in here. And this is kind of all the development that's going on behind our property. So to give you kind of a quick history of the property, there was a single-family house on the property that burnt down. It was actually demolished through the building department in 1993. All the permits were pulled. It was kind of done that way. And since then, there's been multiple other submissions and approvals from this board to move forward with some type of development by the current owners today. And again, like I said, we've had developers look at this for probably the past 10 years, and they would look at it and then back away. And it was kind of one of those ongoing things when somebody was looking for a lot. So the most recent approval by this board was a 2008 approval. I think I can have it right here. For 5 units, 2 duplexes, and 1 single-family house. They kind of broke it up this way where they brought in the driveway on this side over here, came down very close to this abutting building right on the property line, came through here, and had two buildings back this way. And again, this is the Harbor Walk and the Cottage Park behind me over here. So those buildings came through similar to this special permit in this TC zone. They asked for waivers from the rear yard setback, from the foundation from 30 feet, which is required, down to 15 feet back in this corner over here. We're asking for, the reason I'm mentioning is we're asking for similar waivers, but we believe them to be better than what was proposed back then. Let's see if we can move to the next. So, a quick overview of Matt's project is that he's going forward with a 3-story multifamily building. It's going to have 7 units, 6 are to be market, one is going to be kind of an affordable unit. He doesn't owe the affordable unit, but he just thought it would be a better kind of fit, going through everything he's gone through with recent developments to kind of add that in there. It's a kind of a good kind of positive that he's bringing to the area. He's going to be going forward with 14 bedrooms. The previous development had those 5 units, and each one of the units had 3 bedrooms. He's going to be doing 7 2-bedroom units on this one here. Down there. So the special permits and the relief we're requesting are a special permit under, get to it somewhere here because I can't read all the way up there. Special permit under use table A3 to allow a multifamily building in this district. Special permit per section 2077 for inclusionary housing. Special permit, as mentioned before, with the 50 feet of the driveway. I'll show you as we get later on the slides kind of how close everything is. This is kind of in a downtown type area, so just keeping that separation between driveways is not really too feasible. We're going to be asking for the dimensional requirement, the setback off the rear line from 30 feet down to 12.1. That's it. So here is a kind of a elevation picture of what Matt's proposing to build. We looked at this property and we were looking at it kind of through the lens of the old proposal, doing duplexes or doing that type of thing. But on the size and kind of the shape of the lot, it's a much better fit to kind of move forward with something like this, which kind of fits the aesthetics of the area. There's multifamily to the right of us, there's multifamily to the left of us. So as you can see up here, this is the front of the building as you come in. It's got a flat roof, 3 stories here. There's going to be 2 units on that first floor. There's going to be two units on the lower level, kind of out back down here. And then the top 2 floors, they're going to have 3 units between them. It's going to be a 2-floor unit. So there's going to be kind of broken up into sections to get the square footage that way. Go to the next one here. So, and again, I'll kind of go through this a little bit more when we go through the slides so you can see where we are. The old proposed drawing had 18-foot driveway coming in. We're proposing 24 to today's standards. Working with the fire department, that's kind of what they wanted to make sure we had the turnarounds. We're going to be handling all the stormwater on site. None of it's going to the street or on any other properties. It's all going to be handled through a subsurface infiltration with a water quality unit and whatnot on the property. The building is going to be serviced by town sewer and by town water. The building is also going to be sprinkled due to building code. And part of working with the fire department and where the location of the sprinkler connection is going to be, we have a new hydrant on the site, which will be within 100 feet. And the fire department, working with Chief Malaguti, has been okay with the turnaround. You can see, I'll go kind of skip ahead real quick. We made sure when we were doing the design that the previous design didn't allow for any sort of turnaround once you got into the site. So once you got in, they were really going to have to back out the entire way, which would never pass in today's kind of standards with the fire department. So we made sure that we provided a turnaround. It's kind of hard to see up there, but turnaround right here so they can access the driveway easily from each side, the north or the south. And then we have this turnaround here by sliding the building a little bit over to the left, that we can kind of make that turnaround so they can come into the site and leave the site. Going back one. So as I mentioned before, Jeffrey Dirk is a part of this kind of proposal. When Matt brought it to me, I said, you know, the first thing we need to do with how close everything is, the cars parking on the street, the building, how close it is to on the adjacent property, that, you know, Vanas was going to have to weigh in on a kind of a site distance angle to make sure this was a feasible project. So they took it on as kind of the first 2-week process of the project and came back with their 3-stage approach. And the 3-stage approach, based off my understanding and what kind of Jeffrey Dirk relayed to me, is that they would come up and a car would stop before the sidewalk. They would kind of observe the sidewalk on each side to make sure no one was walking there. Then the car would creep forward and go onto the sidewalk and then be able to kind of, and anybody who's driven in a downtown Plymouth, it's kind of just the standard procedure. But this, with the stop sign and everything else we put into place, it just makes it a little bit more structured. This is what you have to do to be able to see down to the south and up to the north. And he thought there was no issue with that. And it's part of, I think his description was, that's in a lot of urban areas, this is just the typical procedure that they go through. I mentioned the fire department here. So just to go through a couple of the quick slides to kind of give you just the last little overview of it. Existing conditions, house was there before. It's now kind of thick, you know, vegetation that has just come up from, you know, nowhere. And kind of thick, and it's really thick brush right now at this point. Our landscaping plan, we really, with the size of the lot, it was more about how can we provide the best buffer on areas where we were going to be too close to everything. So on the southerly side up here, we kind of put where we have these parallel parking spaces. We have this kind of thick row of trees here to block where the buildings are on this side here. And then we also did the same thing out back with how close we are to the property line. We wanted to make sure there was this adequate screening, even though this is just a parking lot down here, but just from the neighboring property. We wanted to make sure that was in place. Again, kind of hard to see, but what we also made sure we did was provide adequate snow storage on the site by leaving certain areas not near the adjacent buildings where we could, stockpile snow. And again, it's a concern in these downtown areas to make sure we had some room on site to be able to store everything. I think that's pretty much it. I guess I would kind of end the whole thing with that. We went through early on to the North Plymouth Steering Committee. We got a unanimous vote from them to make sure they were thrilled with the project. They actually couldn't have been happier that something like this was going in over there, and they were happy that Matt was going forward with it. And I think, lastly, Matt's record in town in building this workforce kind of housing, well, not housing, but more of a reasonably priced area for where his, the clientele and the Plymouth residents can kind of get in at a nice building at a good price was part of the sell too as well. And with that, Matt or I will be happy to answer any questions.
Michael?
I have a couple questions. You were saying the water be handled on site, so that this has roof drains going in or either the system or?
So, I'll go to the utility plan quick. So we have, right in the center here, we have a whole set of subsurface infiltration.
Right.
We're having catch basins down this way and a water quality right here. But Matt and I had the conversation with how close we are to that back property line. We had the conversation about with having a flat roof, we could pitch everything to the front. So from the front, we have roof drains going to this drain manhole here. That's going back kind of into the other side of that. So it doesn't have to be treated since it's clean coming off the roof, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't, any drainage was going to be staying in front of the building.
Right, because you're higher than the parking lot next door.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Then the other thing too is, I didn't see which one was, if it was even designated, but just a comment anyways, is on the affordable, that has to be available to everyone. So it has to be accessible at like street level. You wouldn't be able to put that on it would have to be on the first floor. Yeah. Don't you remember we went through that with Rick, Vail. Go ahead.
Matt Sheridan Home Builders. So Nick Mayo and I actually had a conversation about that and handicap accessibility. So the first story is going to be fully handicap accessible, which will have 2 units on it. So if that needs to be one of the designated affordable, it certainly could be. I'm not aware of a handicap requirement for an affordable unit, but if that's something that needs to be addressed, we can certainly do that.
My understanding is that in the interior doesn't have to be set up for handicap, but it has to be, because we went through this with Rick Vail on the Armory.
Right.
He had to put in a elevator because they couldn't exit out the front. It's a long story, but it had to be accessible when it goes out to Lottery. It has to be available to everyone. That's the way it was told to us.
So I can certainly have a conversation with Peggy Whalen about that, and if that's the criteria.
But you've got the first floor is fine.
Which we'll easily be able to satisfy that. If Peggy does say, Matt, it has to be handicap accessible, that won't be a problem at all.
And then, curiosity, this is just myself, on the 3rd floor, that doesn't need a direct means of egress, no?
It'll have means of egress to the rear of the building on the slide, if Kevin wants to go to the rear elevation. So you can see on the rear elevation, rather than putting all the entrances on the front, we did a series of decks and platforms on the back. So that'll be the means of egress for the essentially second floor units.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all set.
So, Ed?
Where's the snow going?
So on, are you looking at this sheet right now? So we have snow storage on, we have it on both sides of the driveway. We also have it, after those parallel spaces. And then we have some snow storage by the dumpster, which is over in this area over, right up there.
Is it labeled on the plan?
It is labeled on the plan. So I'm looking at it right now, so the site plan will have it on it. And we have it in 4 different locations.
And the dumpster's on the plan?
Correct.
Just one question for the board.
Yes.
What does the board think about the architecture of the building itself, the back side of it? From this perspective, a lot of times we get involved with looking at different things, and they have, does the board care about it?
It's not whether we care about it or not, Ed. It's, we can't redesign we can't do that because we're only here to talk about what they have brought and presented. It's an up or down. We can't really tell them, no, if you change this or do that.
We approved that bank right by Market Basket that looked like Space Age when it came in front of us, and now it's being built. Wish we could say something about certain things.
Yeah.
Well,
just seems like this can be dressed up some.
well,
And from my perspective, it just, I don't know.
Matt, I actually have a question just as he said that was, so what made you put the entrances on the backside versus the front?
It was actually with the aesthetics in mind. We preferred to have the system of decks and platforms on the rear, so that way you wouldn't see them when you were driving down Court Street. And just to address Mr. Conroy's concern, I don't know if you're familiar or not, another building we have going in Plymouth right now, 687 State Road in Plymouth, right across the street from 42 Degrees. So we actually do take the aesthetics of our buildings incredibly serious. So the renderings you see they're very close to the actual structure and what it's going to look like. But in terms of the siding and everything else, we are going to do something that's going to be very aesthetically pleasing once it comes time to select colors and siding and everything else.
Try to make some window dressing outside,
We did something very similar on State Road, too, with some window dressing and everything else. I think you'd be quite happy when you see the finished product, what it looks like.
and I was involved with State Road more than this, obviously. All right, thank you.
anybody else?
Just a question, did the fire department look at this? How did they get around to the back of the building?
Chief Malaguti reviewed everything and was very happy with it. So on the sides of the building is actually going to be a series of steps and walkways that'll give them full access. I actually met with Chief Malaguti in the very beginning, showed him this, and he had no objections to it whatsoever.
So he's going to put a pumper between the hydrant that's out front and then get hoses to go around the back?
So their sprinkler hookup will be in the front of the building, and then the fire hydrant will be in the front of the building as well. The sprinkler hookup was actually put on the front by design per his request.
Okay. But he didn't have a problem getting around there, and residents, the egress, if they enter in the front, they'd be able to get out
Correct. He put nothing on our radar screen about any kind of concerns.
Okay.
Peter? You all set, Ed? Okay. Have you anything else to add at this point? Mr. Mayo?
I just thought I would bring it up because it's relevant. We did a preliminary review of the site plan and the building that's proposed here, and the building code actually requires exit discharge in these scenarios in any building like this. And the exit discharge is actually from the door of the building all the way to the public right of way. And what he's proposing here looks like he's got compliance for safety for that purpose, to make it all the way to the public right of way, and it's adequate.
Okay, good. All right. I'm going to open this to public comment, and the vast audience out here, if they would like to speak on any of this, is there anybody that would like to speak? Seeing none, I will bring this back to the board. Do you have anything further to add?
No, sir.
Okay, all set, Kevin. All right, I'm going to close public comment, and I am going to bring this back to the 5 members of the board. Gentlemen, what would you like to do?
So, why don't we just go for approving it? I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I had this note, and maybe should have asked this before. Number 8 in the conditions. Okay, about the utility pole. I think we all know that you're at the mercy of the electric company, which I don't know about. All I remember is the Home Depot area, and we granted that, and it took, what did it take, a year and a half for that pole to get moved by the electric company? We all used to go around it. I'm just a little concerned that this could go on forever as well. So, is that pole, I didn't pay much attention to where it is. I mean, is it right out on the sidewalk like most poles?
Yeah, so it's.
I mean, let's put it this way. If the pole doesn't get moved, what happens? How troubling is it? If it doesn't get moved when he's all ready to rent them out.
So the pole, so when we looked at it, Matt looked at it to see kind of what type of pole it was. It's a little bit beyond me, but he's dealt with Eversource before and kind of knew what they would require. The pole sits based off where we have to put the roundings for the entrance of the fire department. So the pole would be in one of the roundings off the side where the driveway is going through. So that's why the pole.
That's a problem.
So the pole has to go before he can rent anything.
The pole will have to be moved, but it's just a single wire pole, so I'm actually not that concerned about dealing with Eversource with getting it moved.
How long did it take you on Old County Road to get that pole moved to the entrance of the project you did there?
Well, it had taken Ace Hardware, I believe, 7 or 8 months. They asked me to get involved, and it took me less than 6 weeks.
I mean, we gave up at the airport trying, we needed the pole moved, and it was going to be, just wasn't worth it.
Well, all we're worried about is you're aware that you won't be able to do anything until that. You can finish the whole project, and it might sit there until that pole is moved.
I'm completely aware of that.
Okay.
That was my issue, I guess, is the way this condition is written. It's just like, could be that way for 5 years or something, you know?
But it should be written that way.
So now, while we're talking about conditions.
Yes, let's
I would
please.
like to remove 20 through 24. The board doesn't have any concern.
You want to do what?
20 through 24 on the condition.
I thought you were going to do that.
If he didn't, I was.
Exactly.
What the hell did that come from?
Everybody had the same idea.
Mr. Mayo, do you see any of those conditions that you would be upset if we removed condition 20 through 24?
No, if you want to remove them, I'm totally fine with that.
I asked Mr. Mayo.
Oh, sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with the board. There's really no reason for them to be there.
And we thought we trained David Peck better than this.
And every single one
We
of
thought
these
he'd straighten out the planning board.
every single one of these is David. All right, so, any of the other conditions?
Well, I think that one about the pole needs to
How
have
would you
some
like to,
closure to it.
what would you like to
Well, I
do?
don't know, I hadn't thought much about it since I'm not before. It's gotta say prior to occupancy or something. You know what I mean?
Pole must be moved prior to occupancy. Does that satisfy everybody? You understand that?
Yes, thank you.
You're all right with that? I mean,
This is the utility
With the
pole?
pole? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
totally fine. Yep.
okay. And we've taken those 4 conditions off that are wish lists. Are there any of the other ones that you want to discuss?
No, I'm fine with
I await the board's pleasure.
it. I'll make a motion that we approve case number 4112 with the conditions discussed.
19 conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion on case 4112, Sheridan Home Builders Incorporated, to approve with the 19 conditions. All those in favor? It is a unanimous vote to go forward and build your project.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right, we have the town of Plymouth. This is case 4003, A and B. And the legal ad has been read into the paper a long time ago. And this is just to meet a condition. Sitting on this will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, and myself, and Mr. Connor. Excuse me, I didn't want to leave you out. I spelled your name wrong, but I... Gentlemen, this is just a parking issue. And I think they have done what they needed to do to resolve that. Go right ahead.
So Kevin Flaherty from Flaherty and Stefani again. Because I believe this is just to satisfy that condition that was a part of that old special permit. We added a little additional asphalt and made sure that the spaces were conforming, 10 by 18 spaces, because previously the waiver was for 9 by 18. So We made everything work and conform on site. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that's really all it was.
Any questions?
They finally going to move ahead? No questions. Almost. Fine.
Okay, I await a motion.
I make a motion that we accept condition number 7 in decision in case 4003 as being complete.
I'll second.
Michael. I have a motion on case number 4003, the Town of Plymouth School Department, to accept condition, what it was, 7?
7.
That 7 has been satisfied.
Yeah.
I have a by Peter and a second by Michael. All in favor. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
You had an easy night.
Easy. I like going second anyways. It's easier that way.
Okay. We have just some, and I see the audience is all leaving now. Boy, it was our time to have a good time, and they all left. We have some minutes for December the 4th.
Thank you.
Is there any changes, omissions, additions? It's the best minutes hey, 18 years, the best minutes we've ever had.
Well, it goes to her head, don't
So what? Peggy never even did minutes.
That's true.
She said, if you want them, you do them yourself.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of December 4th as being correct and complete.
Is there a second? Okay. Kevin. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And then we have the minutes for January the 8th. Any comments, additions,
Well,
subtractions,
again,
changes?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of January 8th as correct and complete.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Unanimous. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our business for the evening. Thank you for watching, and we will see you at the next meeting. Good night.